Welcome to CARE, Center for Internationally Educated Nurses, podcast number 4, focusing on the educational supports at CARE. My name is Ruth Wychuk. I'm a registered nurse in Ontario, and I'm going to be acting as the host for this podcast. CARE provides a variety of educational opportunities for its clients, and this podcast will highlight many of those offerings, the ones we offer for professional development, language support, and preparatory courses, and we'll give you an overview of these different offerings, plus some specific information on the language supports that are available. Today, I have the privilege of acting as the host of this podcast, along with my language specialist colleague, Cara Malla. Cara is an adult education professional whose area of expertise includes language, communication, intercultural collaboration, and workplace integration. She's been developing and delivering language and communication program for over 15 years, working with a variety of internationally educated healthcare professionals in education and training related to job acquisition, professional development, and licensure-related processes, with a focus on the cultural aspects of communication.
Hi, Ruth. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm always happy to be working with you. So this is an exciting opportunity to chat about all of the language programming that we offer at CARE.
Every program that we offer at CARE, every educational program has a communication component. So this is a really important aspect of what we do. So it'll be really interesting for the two of us to share with you how these two are married together and to the benefit of our clients so they walk away with the best possible experience. I could just tell you a little bit about me to get started. I'm a registered nurse and the professional practice lead at CARE Center. We offer a variety of educational opportunities. So let's just talk a little bit, Cara, about our examination preparation and review course. I think a really valuable course, 64 hours.
Yes.
It really gives our clients an opportunity to review previous nursing knowledge that they have, kind of bring that from the back of the hard drive out into the front so they can really refresh that. And also to develop the skills in test taking. So tell us a little bit about how you see the communication being woven through that particular offering.
Right. Well, it's an interesting point that, of course, nurses, when they're focused on their more technical skills and something like an exam, testing their nursing knowledge, their application of that knowledge, of course, the nurse mind will really think of that structure around studying their old textbooks and adding any new information. In terms of the RPN exam review, definitely language comes in with the multiple choice test taking strategies. And one of the exciting things that's come up, especially with a bit more pressure in our current circumstances, is that we've transitioned to an online offering.
Well, I think there's certainly, if one wants to search for an upside to COVID-19,
right?
I think this was definitely one of them, the need that we had to transition from our very traditional face-to-face classroom delivery format to a virtual format to really meet the needs of our clients. Obviously, we couldn't get together in that way any longer. But as well as that, accessibility is a key issue and something that we at CARE are constantly examining and really wanting to ensure that our clients can have access to the wonderful materials that we have. And access isn't always about geography.
Yes.
Nurses work 24/7. I know nurses better than any other group of people, but they seem to have the most complicated lives. And so this offers them an opportunity to access material at a time and a location which is convenient for them. So I think that's a real plus. I think being able to offer this also really encourages this self-directed learning.
Yes.
This really taking responsibility for my own learning. Now, certainly there's lots of resources available to support that. But for many of our clients, this is a kind of a new approach to their education.
Definitely.
And so I think it really nurtures that.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed quite a bit is sort of just a transition for a lot of internationally educated professionals, and in this context, nurses, that the whole approach to education here is quite different. It's a lot of the world traditionally has more of a, I'm a vessel for information. I will show up in the classroom and then have that vessel filled. Whereas we know here there's quite a big analytical piece, and also, as you said, Ruth, that taking responsibility for one's own learning, and the e-learning component definitely gives that. And just to come back to something you mentioned about accessibility not just being about geography, of course, that's something that e-learning has helped us support geographically, a broader scope of regions. I've definitely taught in-person courses at CARE. For example, our CELBAN preparation course that helps nurses prep for the CELBAN language exam. I've taught sessions where I've had people commuting from Montreal who are looking towards their upcoming move as nurses to Ontario. So that type of dedication is there. It's just, again, with the complex lives many nurses have, it's not always realistic to be traveling to have in-person delivery. And I would say we definitely see a lot of advantage to that when study can be self-directed, or even if it's what we would call synchronous learning, where the learner and the instructor are live together in an interaction. Even then, this whole accessibility for those who have small children. Sometimes there's a baby crying in the background. I'm sure you've had this experience where this is really giving us an opportunity to offer things much more broadly.
I will be very excited to see the results from our online delivery of the exam preparation course. Historically, anecdotal information only, about 75 to 80% of the clients who take this course have been successful in passing the exam.
Right.
So this is, I say, a relatively new initiative for us. So far, it seems to have been quite successful, good feedback from the clients. So it'll be interesting to see, again, with anecdotal data, whether we're able to achieve those same kinds of successful outcomes.
Mm-hmm. And another piece that's shifted in current times, one of the entry points for members to CARE, new members will do something called the I-CELBAN. It's called the institutional CELBAN, or as I said, short form to I-CELBAN. It is a practice version of the official CELBAN language test. And that is something that is administered through Touchstone Institute. So an interesting thing in Ontario for IENs, or internationally educated nurses coming in, is that the language requirement is not placed at the forefront of their journey into practice. However, looking at every other province, language proficiency has to be proven before they advance through any of the other steps towards getting licensed. It places language as this kind of interesting secondary focus for many nurses. And just to kind of highlight the importance of language and communication, we have this I-CELBAN as something new members do as soon as they join CARE. Now, that is traditionally an on-paper in-person test. So again, in current conditions, we've had to work around that. That's part of my role at CARE, to deliver the I-CELBAN, and now our own version of sort of a remote I-CELBAN. And I've been really just impressed and pleasantly surprised at how easily that's flowed, that we're sort of in video conference. A big part of that assessment is role playing with nurses. And what it really highlights for us at CARE and for the IEN themselves as a new member is, ooh, okay, language really does need focus. Here's where I scored. Or, wow, I found it really challenging to do this type of language assessment, even in a sort of low stakes, low pressure environment. And I think that's an important piece of the whole language and communication programming, that we have an assessment piece right at the beginning. So it's, hey, here's where you're scoring. So here's where you would probably score if you went and took the official test right now. It's a bit of a wake-up call sometimes. And it's also an important tool for the language programming at CARE, that we can then guide IENs into the types of educational supports we offer. For example, we may recommend that they take a course called Effective Communication Strategies for Nurses, which is really focused on developing those language and communication skills, as well as the intercultural piece. So there's a lot that living here we kind of take for granted. in terms of understanding what we do with communication in Canada. And that's one example of a course that really highlights that. Also, we use the ICEL ban as an entry point measure within care, sort of a prerequisite for entry into some of the other courses, such as the INCAP preparation course.
Registered nurses may be given an opportunity by the College of Nurses of Ontario to engage in what is really a secondary level of education. So the college has looked at their various reports that they receive, and they're not fully confident that this nurse has mastered the entry to practice competencies. So they're given another opportunity to engage in what's called NCAP, the Internationally Educated Nurses Competency Assessment Program, commonly known as OSCE, which is administered by Touchstone Institute. And this is an opportunity for nurses to demonstrate in a simulated clinical situation that they have indeed mastered these entry to practice competencies. This is a high-stakes opportunity for them. If they are successful, it may well then expedite their movement towards registration. So they have a lot invested in this. This course really, I think, does a wonderful job of marrying together clinical knowledge application combined with communication. It almost goes without saying that communication is just critical to successful nursing practice. So in our NCAP preparatory program, which is in fact an 8-week program, it incorporates a knowledge review, so going back again and helping nurses review knowledge that they may not have used for several years, so help to bring that out and refresh it. There's a significant communication piece that Cara conducts and really is always held of high value in that particular course. And then we have the participants have an opportunity to actually interact with a Touchstone-trained simulated client in a given clinical situation. So it gives them the opportunity to demonstrate that nursing knowledge, but also to put in, as close to real practice as we can make it, their communication skills as well. So I think it's a really nice combination. The participants find it really valuable. And again, anecdotally, seem to be quite successful in this, as I say, this very high stakes opportunity that they're being given. So I think it's really an important piece. We will be looking towards moving that virtually as well. At the moment, we're working that out. At the moment, we aren't delivering it just at the moment because it's a face-to-face program, but we are definitely looking at how we can offer that in the most accessible way.
And it's a tricky one because, as you said, a big piece of that offering is having the interactions in the course. Each IEN or nurse in the course has several opportunities to interact with the simulated patient just as they would in the official exam. And that is very hands-on, face-to-face. Now, I think that's, again, where sometimes the piece gets lost, how important the communication is in that particular scenario. As I mentioned before, along with the language and communication, one of the challenges is for IENs to really wrap their head around not just sort of Canadian culture of communication, but the Canadian healthcare culture of communication in terms of pieces around needs and expectations of how we're communicated with. And this is where I see differences, having had experience in different parts of the world, that in many places healthcare is delivered with a certain degree of silence and authority, and the recipient of the healthcare may not really want to know much, or typically wouldn't want to know much as a procedure is being done. Whereas here, there's a lot more transparency and communication expected, and that's something that's come up in the INCAP prep course. Oh, okay, this client or patient wants me to tell them what I'm doing as I'm doing it. And I would also say that in terms of the INCAP prep, what I've found in teaching that, and in Ruth and I designing that course, the variety of scenarios that an IEN may face in the official test is definitely reflected in our course. And there's sometimes a bit of a surprise that those interactions may not all be with patients. Some of the interactions will be with family members. They will relate to, I guess, Ruth, what would we call it, more psychosocial issues?
For sure. Definitely not all hands-on clinical issues. Absolutely. And this whole need, and just as you pointed out, Cara, that the approach to healthcare delivery here may be different than what many of our clients are used to, which is really very much, I'm the expert, I will give you information, you will do as I tell you, where the approach here is a much more client-centered approach, where the client ends up making decisions based on information that's been provided by the nurse and by other healthcare professionals as well. And I think this can be a little bit of a challenge. And so I think in this NCAP program, which is a safe area, this is a safe space for them to really stretch that and to see how they can integrate that into their practice, because there's no doubt that will be an aspect of their communication that the CNO will be looking to see, okay, have they grasped that. I also wanted to mention that a wide array of educational opportunities and professional development opportunities that CARE offers. There's also a significant ongoing requirement that nurses engage in a quality assurance program to ensure their ongoing competency. And so since the membership at CARE is a lifetime membership, once we get you, we never let you go. And they can come back at any time to access, maybe they want to upgrade their IV skills. Maybe they want to take another communication course. So they have the opportunity of doing that throughout their career. So I think that's important to focus on as well, that this is a life journey. It's not just the journey to registration.
Absolutely. And as you said, in terms of it being a safe space, I find in teaching the programs, there's such a great peer support. There's such a great support from CARE staff. And I think the limited numbers that we maintain in our classes give the participants so many opportunities to engage with the content. So it's not a mass classroom. There's a lot of interaction between the facilitators and the participants. The participants, I find, are some of the best resources for each other. That's what I've seen is very exciting, that before I know it in one of our programs, for example, if I'm teaching a cell band preparation course, they've got a WhatsApp group going between them by week 2, and they're really sharing a lot of resources and a lot of experiences. Here's where I'm at in my journey. And that's a piece that I see as a sort of side benefit to the whole program. Just jumping back, I had a thought about when we were speaking on the cultural element and some of the differences in the healthcare culture and how that's communicated. And for nurses, again, naturally focusing on their process to licensure, it's okay, language proficiency. Once I've satisfied that, I'm on the road and less need to focus on these other elements of the cultural aspects of communication or the soft skills. A big tool that CARE has at our disposal and that we use in a lot of our courses is a really fantastic bank of video resources that have been really professionally produced. And it shows the kind of, for example, challenging interactions with a family member, showing empathy in an end-of-life decision-making situation. This whole library that CARE has that's integrated into our courses, I find really offers that, okay, now I'm seeing it. I'm not just hearing it told to me by my facilitator, but I'm seeing it in context. I think that's a big part, especially with the language programming. That's a significant component in all of the language courses.
And I think I don't think we can overemphasize how important language and communication is, not just in communicating with your clients, but in communicating with your colleagues as well.
Yes.
So in order to communicate effectively and to build trust amongst other members of the team, it's really important that the nurse is able to really communicate effectively. And I think that often is a key in many instances to practice success. When I get feedback from employers, it's very rarely are they criticizing a nurse's clinical competence. She can start an IV with the best of them. It often has to do with some kind of communication breakdown or some kind of communication barrier. So I think that threading this component through all of our educational offerings, I think is critical. I think
Yes.
it's critical.
Well, as you mentioned, the relationships with colleagues, again, in terms of the feedback that I've heard from employers, it will sometimes be, they're still working on fitting in, right? And that's not fitting in with the client so much as it is fitting in with the team. And this is where, again, looping back to that cultural piece and the cultural understanding, something like hierarchy would play very different into relationships within a clinical setting in another country in terms of, for example, how a nurse may relate to a doctor, how a nurse may relate to an administrative support person. We just have a very different approach here, whereas in other parts of the world that may be much more impacted by hierarchy, and that will influence how someone approaches a conversation. And a lot of that, I just see light bulbs going off in the classroom, again, with the video resources that really demonstrate that firsthand. Very important piece that we offer.
And making that sort of paradigm shift is not easy.
No.
If you've been used to working in a very hierarchical, usually patriarchal, driven healthcare environment, then to now be expected to function somewhat autonomously on equal footing with other members of the team, that's not an easy transition. So I think that these kinds of interventions really help prepare our clients for professional success and what all that means.
Mm-hmm. Another important point, the e-learning developments, the online offerings that have really come into play, especially over the last few months. So we'll look forward to chatting about those perhaps in a future podcast, Ruth.
Yes, hopefully. Thank you so much, Cara. So this really concludes this podcast. Thank you for your attention, and please visit the CARE website frequently for updated information regarding resources, courses, perhaps attend an information session virtually if you feel that this is an organization that you would like to be part of. So please check our website, www.carefornurses.org.